Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to the Mad Science Lab podcast. I am Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist. Today, we will be continuing on with the My Thoughts, My Team series. We actually got a Seahawks fan. The last two have just been pinch hit people who didn't like their team.
I hate to tell you, I'm not a Seahawks fan either, but I can pretend if you want me to be.
Oh, no. Okay. See,
we're pinch hitting again for number three.
Oh, we have our third pinch hitter. See, the first two, I knew the Saints and Commanders. I couldn't pay anyone to do them, but I thought when you said it, you said you wanted the Seahawks. All right.
We have our third pinch hitter. Team in the NFC West, so I just went Seahawks. It was not out of love for the team at all. However, I can get behind the players, so I'm into it.
That's going to make two of us who aren't a big fan of the Seahawks. I'm a Saints fan, and I hate this team. I hate Pete Carroll, but all right.
Without further ado, like Pete Carroll. Let's be honest. I don't know that anyone really does unless you're an actual Seahawks fan.
Fair enough. So as I was saying, we'll continue on with my Thoughts series on the Seattle Seahawks, despite the fact that neither of us likes them. Today, I have Jennifer Eakins. Thank you for joining me, Jen. You want to tell everyone where they can find you?
Absolutely. Yeah, I am 4 for 4, solely 4 for 4, all 4 for 4 all the time. So, I've got, I'm the fantasy football content manager over there. I have a ton of content up right now. Actually, I've just realized today I've written 7 articles since the draft. I'm exhausted. However, but yes, 4for4.com. Find me over there.
All right. Well, that's easy to remember. Let's get into it then. Little magical. There we go. Just move things around. All right. These, as usual, are provided by ESPN, so I don't necessarily always agree with them, but it seems to be a pretty straightforward quarterback room here. Geno Smith is the starter. Drew Lock should probably be playing in the XFL, and let's hope it stays that way. Geno, I believe, finished as what? QB7, QB8 last year? Where do you see him finishing this year? Think he sneaks back into the QB1 range?
I do actually. Yeah, he finished well. I mean, it's, my research, he finishes a QB9 in fantasy points per game. But yeah, and the funny thing is, right now on Underdog in best ball drafts, he's being drafted as QB16. So I feel like there's value there because I feel like he can sneak in. I mean, we'll get to his weapons and his new weapons coming up here, but I think that he's a winner in the draft. I feel like what they did is going to help him out. I mean, listen. Last year was a complete surprise to everybody, right? So he may fall off this year and go back to the Geno Smith we knew. But if he stays and does what he did last year, I feel like he can be a fantasy quarterback one.
So you're telling me you weren't predicting the 11th year breakout?
Yeah, I can't imagine that anyone. I mean, that was absolutely insane. I mean, I remember
I've never seen that.
Yeah, I mean, all of us were predicting the Seahawks to be really bad last year as an offense in general. We were like, how can they possibly do anything with Geno Smith as their guy? But he showed up. So if he can do it again this year or even close to it, I feel like he can be a QB1.
I wonder who's going to continue the trend this year. In back-to-back seasons between him and Cordero Patterson, we have a 10th year breakout.
Interesting.
It's a new trend, I think. Who's the 10th year breakout this year is the question.
Who knows? I would have to look at the 10th year guys and see, but I mean, why not? I love it, actually.
So there's not much to see here in the quarterback room. The running back room, a moment of silence for my Ken Walker shares. I'm overreacting. It's not that bad. I think Zach Charbonnet is probably going to be a backup. I know Pete Carroll said they wanted to draft multiple backups or multiple running backs just because the fragility of the position. So they have Walker and Charbonnet as the starters with Kenny McIntosh and DJ Dallas bringing up the backups. Walker, I had him as my RB1/2 in Dynasty. I still think he's pretty easily a top 5 there. I still think he's probably a late first round, early second round pick in redraft at worst. I like Charbonnet. I liked Walker a lot better. What do you think of the backfield here?
Walker was going really early so far this summer, at least in best ball. And I feel like he slipped a little bit. This is the thing with the running back situation. Like I think it's a little bit overreaction to freak out. It's still Pete Carroll running this offense. They're going to run as often as they can, and often, they're going to run first, run often. So it's kind of a rule every year. I at least try to have a piece of this running back, because you just kind of have to. I was a huge Chris Carson fan for many years because he always showed up, just because of this offense. You really don't have, But I think Charbonnet. I mean, listen, he's good. He was actually kind of predicted as the only other, complete 3-down back besides Christian Robinson coming into this out of the draft class. So it wasn't, kind of a plan here. However, I think, listen, he's a good threat at a lot of the passes, and I feel like, I don't know, I feel like they're both going to be, unfortunately, they're going to cannibalize one another.
I think your mic's drifting a bit in and out there.
Really?
Yeah, we're getting it. Sounds like you're in a tunnel a bit.
Really? Still?
There you go. Now, no, loud and clear. You were just
all right. I'll move up. I'll get up on it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think the two will cannibalize each other a little bit. But I feel like they're both in play as far as fantasy assets, and you don't know what's going to happen. And then unfortunately, injuries happen a lot at the running back position as well. So I feel like they're both draftable. I will say, I am a total University of Georgia homer. That is where I went. That is where I live for. So Kenny McIntosh, I was a little bummed that he got drafted here because I really love him, and I think it's a crappy spot for him to land. I don't know if he's going to crack anywhere in here, but hopefully, I mean, we'll see what happens there. But I kind of, I think for the future, I really like Kenny McIntosh.
I really still like Ken Walker, but I think just looking at who they drafted, Charbonnet and McIntosh, I think you can all but kiss any chance of him with a receiving role. It's long gone now.
Yeah,
I think McIntosh. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna. No, I listen. I cut you off. I think Charbonnet is going to probably end up being the pass catching guy there, but you never know with Pete Carroll. He's strange, when it comes to that stuff.
If Kenny McIntosh ever finds his way into the lineup, I had him as the maybe second best pass catcher in this class behind Jahmyr Gibbs, possibly the best. He's a good pass catcher out of the backfield.
Mm-hmm. So and he's in an offense that at Georgia doesn't really, they're always a committee at running back. So that's why he kind of, every Georgia running back really ends up kind of farther down where they should be because they don't get the workload and they don't get the volume as all these other guys coming out of the draft. So people look at those numbers and they're like, but it's just because Georgia by design is a committee.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to one of the more impressive wide receiver rooms. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith-Njigba with a backup of D. Eskridge, Derike Young, and Matt Landers. Landers, I feel he was this year, right? This year's rookie class?
I've never heard that name in my life.
He was really, I believe he was around 6 or 7 pick.
Okay.
He's someone I scouted, but he's so far down the board, it's not going to register. D. Eskridge doesn't look like he'll ever be a thing. And Derike Young, the only thing I remember last year was he was a real big speed guy, but I think he's a one-trick pony, and the trick isn't all that good.
Right.
But the top 3 here are pretty good. I don't think JSN cuts into DK Metcalf. I think he's going to cut into Lockett quite a bit, though.
Yeah, no, I agree. DK Metcalf is the X guy, and I think he's going to stay there. Right now he's the wide receiver 15, at least in underdog best ball drafts. I think that's, if he's going to have the same amount of volume, same targets, I think he's right there, a fringe wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. Lockett is a little bit worrisome. A, he's getting older.
Yeah.
And B, I think that, JSN is probably going to go to the slot and they're probably going to push Lockett outside, which, might change things a little bit. I think both Lockett and JSN, I would consider them kind of in the wide receiver 3 range fantasy wise. They both have the ability to be a wide receiver 2. I mean, Lockett has done it. He surprised us the last couple of years when we thought he was going to be bad. So, but I don't know, when it comes down, depending on training camp and whatnot, when it comes to redraft time, both of them may creep up into wide receiver 2 range. But for now, I kind of would temper and go to wide receiver 3 for both those guys.
I don't think JSN landing there is particularly great for any of the 3 of them, but it is wonderful for Geno Smith, as you talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I agree with you there.
Moving on to one of the more frustrating tight end rooms last year. I had to deal with a couple of these guys. They'd have games where two tight end touchdowns, and they'd be one from Fant, one from Disley. Then the next week it'd be one from Parkinson, one from Disley. This tight end room of Noah Fant, Colby Parkinson, and Will Disley, I feel like they've got one, potentially two really good tight ends in Fant and Disley. If they just pick one and play one, why are they going tight end by committee? I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely not on board with either of them. I will not draft either if I don't have to. I mean, they may end up in the streaming conversation if you get, screwed at tight end, which we all do by week 8 or 9 if you don't have Kelsey, or you kind of end up where you're dropping and picking up and playing the matchups and trying to figure it out. But it's a bummer because Fant, I live in Denver, so I definitely dealt with Fant for a while beforehand, and I just feel like he hasn't really lived up to much. And then you've got, Will Disley is in and out. Like when he's healthy and when they actually use him, he's productive. But, like you said, I mean, tight end guy committee is gross, especially, for fantasy.
I have a soft spot for Will Disley. I fell victim to a first month of the season Cole Kmet disaster last year.
Yeah,
and Will Disley in this league was the only tight end available, and I was forced to stream him. And he finished as a top, I think, 6 or 8 tight end in all 3 of the weeks where I had to stream him. And I think I finished the first month 3-1, and I probably would have been winless if he hadn't pulled off some form of a miracle. But yeah, Noah Fant seems by all accounts like he should be the number 1 tight end here, and I'm just not sure why they don't go to him.
No, it's a bummer. I mean, they had, Gerald Everett a couple years ago when he was there was decent, but then he left, and now it's just kind of this gross committee that's not super fun for the fantasy world. I mean, it would have been nice maybe if they would have drafted one of the top guys and then moved one of these guys and, focused in, but I feel like we're going to end up with another just committee year.
Yeah, it's kind of a mess. All right. I know it's going to be too early to have real redraft ADP, but for now I've been using just best ball as a guide. That's normally pretty good. If you had to look at, what your anticipated ADP will be, who is one player on the team you think you're going to be targeting?
I'll probably go with JSN, just based on, I feel like him and Lockett might have very similar ADP, and I feel like JSN has a little higher of a ceiling there. So I probably, if I'm gonna, pick one at the same ADP, I'd probably roll with him.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe Metcalf. I think Metcalf's the one who's least affected by it, but I still think it's going to take a hit on his ADP. So you might get a discount for basically the same production while Lockett and JSN cannibalize each other.
That's true. And also, I should have said Geno, because I feel like I said earlier, at least right now, he's a value in best ball.
What'd you say it was 15 right
16.
now?
He's 16 right now. Yeah. So I feel like he's, he has the ability to finish at probably 12, 13. So you're getting a little bit of a value for now. It might rise, as camps start and people get fired up about the offense.
Yeah. Got more weapons and somehow ADP stays the same. But
yeah.
Conversely, if you had to pick one player at cost that you would be avoiding, who do you think it would be? That's a tough one.
It is a tough one because honestly, it depends on Walker. If Walker stays where he is now, which is he was a second rounder. I don't know where he actually. Oh no, hold on. I can actually look real quick while we're talking on our 4for4 underdog ADP tool. But if Walker stays where he was, which let's see, he is right now. He is RB 13. And his ADP is 34.2. So
not as high as I would have thought.
Yeah, he's dropped a little bit. Like I said, he was a second rounder before the draft. So
can you look up Charbonnet while you're at it?
Yeah, I can.
My first thought was Charbonnet because I don't think it's going to be a committee. I think it's going to be Walker as the one and Charbonnet as the change of pace back. But from a lot of the general consensus I've heard, not necessarily among the experts, but with the casuals, is that they think Charbonnet might just be, a 50-50 here. I think Charbonnet is going to be way overvalued for a guy who's probably going to be a glorified backup.
So right now he is RB 31, and his ADP is 99. So he's affordable right now. That may rise. I mean, it's been 3 days since the draft. So That's a quick, that's a 3-day ADP. So I don't know where he's going to land.
Yeah.
Right now, he's still pretty affordable. Right now, he's going for the price of an RB3. So, it'll be interesting to kind of see. I don't know, like you said, I don't know if there's anyone that I would totally avoid at their ADP. Now, like I said, I'm not drafting Noah Fant or Will Disley. So they're both super cheap, so it doesn't matter, but I'm still not drafting them.
Yeah, I think this team's going to be a wait and see, and you're going to have to find, see where all the prices settle in. Do you have a sleeper? The sentimental Kenny McIntosh pick?
I would say McIntosh is a sleeper just because, and not in redraft. I mean, I definitely would not take Kenny McIntosh in redraft, unless you have a massive 22 round thing. But for best ball, I will absolutely throw some darts on him at the end because God forbid, Walker and Charbonnet go down, which is not unheard of. He's going to, I think last year they lost everybody and it was like Travis Homer and DJ Dallas at one point. So
who were both hurt too at some point.
Exactly.
Penny and Carson. Carson retired. Penny was done for the season. DJ Dallas and Homer took turns being injured and one of them. They even had to call up, was it Alex Collins, the old Ravens back they called up at one point?
I don't think that was last year. I can't.
No, was it? I don't know. There were so many running backs on that team last year.
But exactly. So that's why I feel like Kenny McIntosh is a guy I'd grab in best ball because you just never know. He may all of a sudden have those crazy spike weeks where he comes in 3 or 4 times and scores a couple touchdowns and could be like a league winner, So he's my sleeper there. Totally biased, but I did watch every play of him in college. So there's that.
My other sleeper, I guess, isn't necessarily a true sleeper, but at QB 16, Geno's definitely being slept on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would be my pick there. Kenny McIntosh, I'd like to target in dynasty drafts, rookie drafts. All right. Last year, I have 7th in the NFC at a 9-8 record. If you had to pick, or if you had to guess in their division, where do you think they finish in their division? 3, 2?
I'd go 2 after the 49ers. Yeah. I can't imagine the Cardinals are going to be great, and I can't imagine the Rams are going to be great either.
I think they're both bottom 5 teams, so I think they easily finish second. I don't think they catch the Niners. 9 wins. You think they go over or under or the same? Same?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, I'll go same.
Same.
Sure.
All righty. That was a pretty quick one. We didn't have too much of a difficulty there with breaking them down. Let me just switch us back to the home screen. Oops. I've gone all haywire here on my system. Well, thank you, Jen. Would you like to take another shot here to tell everyone where we can find you?
Yeah, just head on over to 4for4.com. We have tons of draft content. We're doing profiles of all the rookies and all the, I just put out a piece yesterday, winners and losers from the draft, all that kind of stuff. We've got great content right now, and it's all free at the moment. So head on over to
an ADP tool, apparently.
Yes, we have an Underdog ADP tool, which is fantastic. You can sort by date and, sort by anything, teams, all that stuff. We have tons of tools, and they're all free right now. So.
You said specifically for Underdog?
Yes.
See, I love to use Underdog, but I'm in Canada. So I love to use the early Underdog ADPs for a projection of what I think redraft will be, but we don't get it in Canada. So I've got to use a VPN to make it look like I'm in the States to get it. So now I'm just going to go to 4for4.
Yeah, we have an Underdog tool. It's all there. It'll sort. You can sort by anything you want to sort by.
Glad to learn that. That'll come in handy. Well, once again, thank you for joining me. It was great. This has been another episode of My Thoughts on My Team. Once again, a pinch hitter. We have Jennifer Eakins for the Seattle Seahawks. Thanks, everyone. This has been the Mad Science Lab podcast. Have a good night. Thanks again, Jen.
No problem.